How are we doing today, Chicago Cubs fans? And we are back with another edition of Cubs Daily. My name is Steven Wright. It is the All-Star game today. Hope you guys have a fantastic week, a break from the game. We will be ready to rock and roll here towards the end of the week against the Red Sox. But I do want to talk over some potential news and notes that are going on. The Cubs drafted 17 more players in the draft yesterday. We're going to talk about the Cubs' number one prospect, Owen Casey, and we're going to round out the Cubs transactions that happened this month before the break. But before we get into all that, again, appreciate all the support on the channel, ladies and gentlemen. You guys have been the absolute best. Continue to smash that like button if you're enjoying the content. Continue to share your thoughts with me in the comments. I am reacting. I am responding. I love engaging with every single one of you guys. I love hearing your thoughts, your opinion. Everyone has a different perspective. So this is a totally inclusive community on that front. And again, if you're truly enjoying it and you want to see it, we are coming to you daily, especially here during the trade deadline. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. So I found this to be very interesting. And, I talked to a few other Cubs fans in my life, and, I was just like, have you heard of this? Have you seen this? And a lot of people apparently haven't, and that's Kyle Tucker officially moving his charity organization to the city of Chicago. Now, I'm not trying to read between the two tea leaves all too much in this situation, but it's hard for me not to believe that this doesn't mean something, right? Obviously, he came from Houston. I'm guessing that's where the organization started, and he's been having a great time here in the city of Chicago. He posted this on July 1st. He's wearing the Cubs jersey, his significant other as well. Says the Kyle Tucker Foundation is excited for its next chapter here in the Windy City. We are ready to make an impact in the community and support the people that make this city great. Check out our website for more information or how you can help give back. Yes, I know he can obviously still leave the Cubs and go elsewhere. I'm guessing it's not insanely difficult to move the charity. Obviously, he'll have a lot of money to do so when he does sign his contract extension, whether that's with the Cubs or not. But I'm trying to lean on the positive side and say, if you're here for a year, you're traded here for a year, I don't think that's nothing. I think that means something. I think he's truly enjoying the city of Chicago, the environment. Obviously, we all know about the boat picture during the off day a few weeks ago. Kyle Tucker wants to be a Cub. Now it's on the Cubs to make sure he stays a Cub, right? I mean, it's a little thing. It's not a lot, but I think it's a very positive sign towards contract negotiation. And obviously, there's a lot of good things going for the Cubs in this situation, right? Him and his agent are really, really good partners. They work really well together. The Cubs have worked with his agent before. They have a good rapport, etc. So, again, I'm trying not to be, Mr. Oh, yeah, it's happening, but there's a lot of positive signs, and, where there's smoke, there's fire generally. So, maybe it's just a little bit of smoke. Maybe it's like a cigarette smoke, and, he doesn't sign here, but I'm going to lean positively and say, hey, I think Kyle Tucker wants to be a Cub. Now it's on the Cubs to do so, right? So, all right, they had more rounds in the draft, rounds 4 through 20 yesterday. I don't have an expansive dive in, but I do have a list of the players that the Cubs drafted. I have their position, and maybe we can discuss a little strategy here on Cubs Daily, right? So the Cubs drafted a lot of players yesterday. Here is the list of them. But what you're commonly seeing here is a lot of pitchers, okay? A lot of right-handed, a few left-handed pitchers. They drafted a couple catchers as well. This is where the Cubs are trying to stock up on that organizational depth, okay? I don't know how many of these guys are going to make it to the big leagues, but this is where the Cubs want to stack up on more pitching arms because I think Jed is cooking something big. I think he wants to unload some of these prospects because he's got a lot of bullets. He's been saving them for the right move. Now it's all about how does Jed want to distribute that, right? We talked about the first 3 rounds yesterday. They, again, I didn't go too in depth. Again, I have to do some more film study on my own. Maybe that's more of an off-season segment here on Cubs Daily. But they drafted some outfielders yesterday, right? Their first 2 picks were outfielders. I think that's a sign that, I think, unfortunately, it's going to be Kevin Alcantara and or Owen Casey going in a deal. Now, what does that deal incur, right? What does that mean here for the Cubs in that situation? And when we're talking about Owen Casey, he's our number one prospect, right? You got to make sure if you're trading this guy, you are definitely getting a guy back with some control, right? Multiple years on his deal, multiple years left in control, etc., etc. Jed is very, very private about how the Cubs run things, okay? We hear a lot of rumors. We hear a lot of different things. We don't know what's happening until probably the day of or maybe a little bit before, right? The Kyle Tucker news, it didn't take us by surprise, but the rumor that the Cubs were in on Tucker, it was like on a Thursday, and then the Friday he was traded to the Cubs. It doesn't last too long. Rumors don't linger, etc., etc. So there's just a lot of outside speculation onto what things could be. So I don't know who we trade Owen Casey for, but it kind of feels like with the way we've drafted players and we've supplemented our farm system that it looks like Casey is going to go in a deal because he's just been insane this past month, hitting well above 330, multiple home runs. He's been seeing the ball really, really well in AAA. And again, the Cubs have a lot of minor leaguers that are on a very short timeline. Their ETA to the big leagues is this season, and we don't have a spot for them to play. I understand the comments are going to get after me. Please, feel free. Share your thoughts. I want to hear it all. But you can't hoard prospects, okay? They are, all in all, they are just prospects. Now, I think Owen Casey is going to impact a squad somewhere, okay? I think he's going to make a big impact. Now, if he's a Cub, that's great. But if he can go and get ourselves a starting pitcher and a closer, a la a Joe Ryan / Johan Duran, that's something we have to consider here as a Cubs organization because, you know, those two pieces will really help this team now. So, lots of decisions to be made here in the next few weeks. It's all ramping up, and I'm excited to bring it all to you here on Cubs Daily. But yes, do the Cubs trade their number one prospect at the deadline? I think it's about who they get, right? It's the pitcher or the player that they get has to be a fit for the long term here because Owen has a lot of control and he's absolutely mashing the baseball. Like I said, I think he's hitting 337. He's got an OPS above 950, and that's all because his month of June has been insane. He struggled in April and early May, but he really found his rhythm and his stride towards June and going on right now. So I'm conflicted personally. I'm not sure if I want to trade him. Obviously, you always want to keep your number one prospect, but again, it's about what can we get in return now, right? Now, again, what if we send Matt Shaw back down? He's been struggling brutally at the plate. Maybe Matt Shaw is in it, you know? I'm just saying maybe. I'm not... You guys might think I'm saying that, but these are questions everyone has to ask themselves in those meetings on a daily basis when trying to upgrade the roster. There's just no two ways about it. So, lots of decisions to be made here. Obviously, lots of great defense from Shaw. Cade Horton has shown flashes as well. I want to watch these guys develop and give them the chance, but the Cubs are in win-now mode. They have to go make moves to win now. That is imperative. There's no doubt about that either way. So, let me know your thoughts down below. I'm sure you guys are going to let me know about Matt Shaw and how he's fine, and he is. He probably is. I'm not denying that. I'm just saying you have to pose the question. You have to think about it. You have to think about all angles in this aspect, especially when you're thinking about trading your number one prospect. So, we're going to see here in the next few weeks. We'll break it all down here on Cubs Daily as well. Now, let's take a look at some of the Cubs transactions. A lot of little minor facial tweaks here going into the All-Star break, okay? Not a lot to truly discuss, but, you know, starting on July 3rd, the Cubs signed Ryan Jensen. He was a former draft pick of theirs. The Cubs recalled Jordan Wicks from Iowa. And then on the 4th, the Cubs placed Jamison Tyone on the 15-day injured list. We recalled Ethan Roberts from Iowa as well. Unfortunately, I believe it was that inning against the, was it the Cardinals? No, it was the Twins. The inning against the Twins where he gave up 6 runs. Porter Hodge went on the 15-day IL. Cubs sent Eli Morgan to a rehab assignment for the ACL Cubs. And then the Cubs optioned Jordan Wicks and selected the contract of Brooks Kriske, who was on the squad in May. I believe he only had 1 appearance, but A lot of shuffling in the bullpen, trying to find the right fit, trying to get gelling right. Again, this team's chemistry is amazing. You don't want to mess with it too much. You don't want to trade the wrong player and bring in the wrong player. There's a lot of things to consider with this Cubs team, but one thing I am almost for certain is that a move is going to be made. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be Casey. I think Casey is going to be traded. I just don't know for what. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a name I haven't even mentioned here on Cubs Daily yet, because that's just how this team runs. Things kind of go under the radar with them. They slide under. You just don't know what Jed's cooking up in the background. I'm not saying I want them to trade Owen. It's just a feeling. And we'll talk about the viewer comments later on this week, because a lot of you guys are kind of feeling the same way, it feels like. And I kind of agree. I agree. It just feels that is exactly what is going to happen. So that's going to do it for Cubs Daily. Again, I appreciate every single one of you who have shown support over the past few months, even the past few weeks. If you're new to the channel, again, like the video if you're enjoying the content, and subscribe to the channel for more. I will be back tomorrow with more fun. Hopefully we can talk about PCA and Kyle Tucker having big days in the All-Star game. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Peace.